Townhouses are one of the most popular choices for Vancouver buyers and also one of the easiest ways to get trapped. From outdated strata rules, paper-thin walls, and brutal resale potential to units that look great online but bleed money in real life. Most buyers don't know what to look for, and by the time they figure it out, they've locked into a deal with no privacy, no equity upside, and a strata council that runs like a dictatorship. Today, I'm walking you through the exact red flags I flag for my own clients when reviewing townhomes, from layout traps and zoning issues to CRF problems, rental restrictions, and exit strategy risks. If you're not thinking about how to get out before you get in, you are already in trouble. As we get into my Vancouver townhome buyer's guide and the 7 red flags to avoid a financial nightmare, you'll see a note here down at the bottom. With townhomes being the fastest selling property type in Metro Vancouver at 42.3% sales to active ratio, buyers face pressure to make quick decisions, often at the expense of proper investigation. So we're gonna eliminate all of that today so you know exactly what to look for. As we get into red flag number 1, the self-managed strata, a ticking time bomb. What is a self-managed strata? You'll see this oftentimes with smaller developments. It can happen in condos as well, but in the townhouse complex, if you're looking at between 6 to maybe 15 units, the strata itself does not want to pay an expense to a property management company. They look at that as an expense, not as an investment. And because of that, they're trying to save on those costs. The problem with that, it is a ton of work to self-manage. And what you'll see when you have a proper management company, you'll see that there's usually, minutes every single month or every 2 months, something along those lines. There's someone steering the ship, doing all the back end and making sure that they're scheduling people for proper repairs. When you are self-managed, you are taking that over. Everybody is a volunteer. You're not getting paid. And oftentimes when it is a volunteer position, you're not getting the best quality of work. Also with self-managed stratas, they usually want to keep things very, very lean. So also sometimes you'll see that strata fees are very, very low. And oftentimes what I've seen, a lot of self-managed properties get into disrepair very, very quickly. There is a caveat though. There can be some very well-run self-managed townhomes. I've sold 2 of them, one in Fairview, one in Strathcona very recently. One was as small as 6, the other one as small as 12 units. But keep in mind, when you see self-managed in that MLS description, it should have the hairs stick up a little bit and you need to do proper investigation. So financial mismanagement. Artificially low strata fees that don't fund the CRF, leading to massive special levies when major repairs are needed. Because there's not a large amount of owners in these smaller stratas, these self-managed ones want to keep things on the lower side, and they have the intention of funding things as they need and not doing full replacement jobs, doing partial things. So what happens is when you don't do these full repairs and just do a little bit of piecemeal, it does catch up with you, maybe not in the next 5 to 10 years, but when you start extrapolating that 5, 15, 20, 25 years, there will be big time problems in the way of massive special levies. Legal non-compliance. Volunteer councils lack expertise in BC Strata Property Act requirements, creating costly legal liabilities and disputes. Obviously, when you have a property management company, they understand all the legalities when it comes to the Strata Property Act. If you are acting as a volunteer and you don't know all the ins and outs and you do something to a resident that is out of line, that can lead to a lawsuit against the strata as well. So that is another issue with self-managed stratas. Operational inefficiency. Volunteer burnout leads to deferred maintenance, poor contractor oversight, and declining property value. It is a ton of work, not only to be on strata. If you have been on strata, you understand the roles and the responsibilities and the amount of extra work. But when you're completely self-managed, it is a whole encompassing job, especially if you're in an older building that requires a lot of maintenance. You need to find contractors. You need to put things out to tender. You need to check in things with the city. You have to make all these other items to run smoothly, not to mention deal with any problems that arise from property owners as well. So keep in mind, if you are looking at smaller townhouse units, likely a good chance they are self-managed. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you do need to do further investigation. When we look at some of the differences between self-managed and professionally managed buildings, you'll see some differences here and the pros and cons. When we look at monthly fees, this is going to be your strata fee, and this is based around 1,200 square feet. You can see that a professionally management company will advise the strata to charge between $400 to $600 a month for units around that 1,200 square foot size, because they have the experience of running other stratas. They know what they should budget for future costs, because when you are self-managed, they don't have the history, they don't have the experience in running other strata buildings, so they are going in blind and have no idea how to budget and to set things aside for windows, for roof replacements, for balcony replacements. Self-managed is usually around $200 to $350 a month. The impact is unsustainable fees, which means that maintenance is going to be an issue in the future. Contingency reserve fund adequacy, 75 to 90% funded, self-managed 25 to 40% funded. With the Strata Property Act, you need to have a minimum of 25% of your operation budget. In the CRF, that is a requirement, but that's the bare minimum. And you can see that with self-managed, they go to that bare minimum, and that just means a high special levy risk in the future. They run very lean, not only with their strata fees, but with their special levy. So when things come up, likely what's going to happen, a huge levy, and there's going to be a rise in your strata fee as well. Average special levy under professional management, $5,000 to $10,000. Self-managed, $15,000 to more than $50,000 per special levy. Unplanned expenses because they are not budgeting correctly. Mortgage approvals, greater than 95% in terms of professionally managed buildings. 60 to 75% approval rating from lenders because of the financial challenges. If there are flags within the numbers and the due diligence, that can be an issue as well. Red flag number 2, the leaky legacy, non-rainscreened buildings. Anything that is stucco related, and where most of us are aware of the leaky condo issues in the 1990s, it almost bankrupted the city of Delta because they had so many issues. And essentially what they did was they took a product from the hot climate of California of stucco and brought it up here to a very wet climate, moisture-rich climate here in Vancouver. They didn't have the proper building assemblies to allow moisture to drip out and to be removed from essentially the plywood to the stucco. They just would apply the stucco right onto the plywood without having any type of rain screening. And because of that, because it's a porous material and it's so wet here, it would just stay wet in that stucco, which would then stay wet and include moisture into the building materials such as the plywood, and then everything would begin to rot. And that was a huge problem. And there's still, there's a huge project right now on Broadway. It's all completely covered in scaffolding. They can't even sell it. It has to be all cash. No lenders will lend to it. So you gotta be very, very careful if you're buying into a stucco building, asking if that property has been rain screened. So leaky condo crisis, I just said, affected buildings from the early 1980s to late 1990s. So if you're buying in the 2000s and beyond, likely not an issue. Without proper rain screening, water penetrates behind the cladding, causing structural rot, toxic mold, and financial ruin. Rain screen creates an air gap, as I said, between the outer cladding and the structural walls, allowing trapped moisture to drain safely. The BC Building Code mandates this technology in early 2000s, and obviously brand new construction now. If we look at some of the remediation costs by era, in the 1985 to 1995, it was around $75,000 to $150,000 a unit. In 95 to 2000, $100,000 to $250,000 plus per unit, and post 2000, less than $25,000 per unit. So essentially, if you're buying into a townhouse complex, and there are ones, we had one just in Fairview, a stucco build that had portions of it was stucco, you have to be aware if they have rain screening. A quick tip, if you're looking to see if a building has been rain screened, usually if you look on every single floor level, every 8 to 10 feet, you should see a horizontal metal flashing channel that goes around parallel to the ground. And if you see that channel, that is likely an indicator that the building has been rain screened. So this is a question you definitely need to ask if you're buying into a townhouse that is stucco, because the cost of this, if it's a pre-2000 townhouse and they haven't done it, it is hundreds of thousands of dollars. They have to remove everything. There's going to be a ton of rot, so they have to re-drywall. They have to re-sheet the exterior walls, possibly interior walls. There's mold. It's just nasty. Then insulation will have to be redone. You will have your whole building scaffold around it. So it's a very big deal to understand what rain screening is and if the property that you're thinking of purchasing has it. Red flag number 3, problematic floor plans. I have 3 here laid out being a flexibility trap because I've seen this happen a lot. Number 1, the 2-bedroom squeeze. Townhouse units that just have 2 bedrooms in the entire place really cuts down in terms of your buyers in the future. You may be able to get a good deal and a good price, but it's because not a lot of people want them because it doesn't give you enough growth for a family. If you have a growing family, they don't want to buy it, and it just leaves you with a lot less options. You can't have multiple kids in there, if you want to have children and a guest space or an office, it really cuts down on your flexibility. So only 1 or 2 legal bedrooms create a flexibility penalty. As life changes, these layouts become obsolete, directly impacting resale value and market appeal. Number 2, the den deception. A den is not legally a bedroom. True bedrooms require windows for emergency egress and typically closets. Windowless dens and add minimal value compared to legal third bedrooms. So you'll sometimes see each municipality is a little bit different in what they consider a bedroom or a den. But if you have a space that you can't even put a single bed, and usually I think one dimension needs to be a minimum of 7 feet, I believe, to be considered a bedroom in the city of Vancouver, you want to make sure that you can put in, at least a double bed and have a closet and a window. If it doesn't have those things, yes, you could put a crib in it and offer some flexibility, but it's going to be an issue with you moving forward. Number 3, missing powder rooms. No main floor bathroom is a significant functional deficiency. Modern buyers expect this as standard, and its absence negatively impacts resale value. And I've sold multiple townhomes this year with no bathroom on the main floor, and it is a big concern with buyers. Especially, you don't know when you're going to have to sell your home. If you have a life event that comes up and you have to sell in a market such as this, any one of these things, having maybe a third bedroom that's really a den and no bathroom on the main floor, you are going to cut your buyer pool. In a market like this where it's so hard just to get showings, let alone offers, this is going to be a significant issue for you. So you want to make sure that your floor plan is open, that is nice and open concept, open kitchen. You'll see some of these older townhomes as well that are quite compartmentalized. Maybe they have an issue where it's there's a wall of maybe just a little bit of an opening in the drywall. If you're buying something like that, you can remedy it if you can open it up with strata approval. But these are things that you need to be very, very aware of, that it may work for your needs now, but if you have a growing family or you want to sell it or rent it out in the future, these are things that are going to be an issue for you moving forward. Right here, we have a chart here, market impact of bedroom configuration. The darker green here is market appeal score, and then the price impact versus baseline. So you can see that 3 bedrooms obviously mark the highest on this because it gives you the most amount of flexibility. And you can see that, a 2-bed and den has a little bit of price impact versus the baseline. But when you look at this 2-bedroom only, it actually is a negative price impact on versus baseline at a -8. So these are things, visually looking at that can really help with your decision making. You should definitely, if you're looking at a townhouse, have a minimum of a 3-bedroom, even a 2-bed and den. If you can't afford the 3-bed, that's better, but definitely try to stay away from these 2-bedroom only townhomes. 3-bedroom layouts provide the greatest flexibility for growing families, home offices, or guest accommodation. They constantly show higher market appeal and faster resale velocity compared to more restrictive configurations. Red flag number 4, design deceptions, concrete bunkers and skinny townhomes. And this is something that just kills me. I'm an example of these skinny townhomes here. And I call some of these the concrete bowling alley. So you'll see a lot of these downtown townhomes or in Olympic Village. They're concrete, they're on the bottom of a condo building, and they only have one set of windows at the front. And they're long, they're rectangular, and it's like you're living in a basement space. So long, narrow, rectangular floor plans with windows only at the front, sometimes at the back, create dark tunnel-like interiors. Natural light cannot penetrate central living areas, resulting in spaces that feel like basement bunkers. So obviously in Vancouver, we have a lot of rain here. It's dark in the summer, in the spring, when you're looking at properties, they may show really well and it's a nice sunny day, but you want to understand what you're going to be living in for the majority of the year. And especially with these long, narrow ones, maybe you have windows on either side, but a lot, if you're buying into those condo style townhomes, only having one set of windows, run away from those units. They're a hard sale and people really don't want them. Skinny townhomes in terms of overall dimensions is something that you want to be very wary of. Obviously, with some of these townhomes, as they build them into 3 stories, they get narrower and narrower so the developer can sell more units, but the interior space is lacking. So interior widths of 14 feet or less create a cramped living conditions. A standard 8-foot sofa can consume the entire width, making spaces feel like hallways rather than rooms. So this is a floor plan here of some townhomes that I was looking at. And this one's a little bit crazy. You can see the width here in the dining room and the living room is just 9'7". Other things that can be considerate of, like where do you even put your TV, right? You have your entranceway here. If you put your TV on this back wall here, where are you putting your TV? This is right open where people walk in. Maybe you have a little position here, but then you're right by the powder room door. So it makes for a very interesting space on how to make this work. You'd have your dining room table here that would take up most of this space. And then you really don't have a place for your TV or a proper living room couch. This is very tight. This is very cramped. These very narrow ones, maybe with this one, it was, around 1,400 or 1,300 square feet. So a decent size for a townhome, but because the floors are so skinny, you are just really creating issues for yourself in terms of enjoyability of the space and then resale. So you can see that width 18 feet plus is excellent. Market appeal is strong. Those aren't going to be, very readily available. In the valley, you can get some of these really massive townhomes. But you want to be in a range probably at around at least 14 feet. In terms of a width in Vancouver is going to be a good size for you to be able to fit everything. Red flag number 5, the value trap. Split levels and below grade spaces, how they're building stuff in mixed levels or in your certain areas like North Vancouver or on a hillside. Sometimes they'll build it where a part of the townhome is actually like a basement area, and then you'll have another townhouse that's a couple levels up. And the split levels and below grade space, they do have an issue in terms of resale value and again with natural light coming in. So 50% value discount for below grade square footage is valued at 50 to 70% less than above grade space in appraisals, just so that you're aware. Effective area, a 2,000 square foot split level with 400 square feet below grade equals 1,800 square feet traditional townhouse value. Resale impact, split level designs can reduce buyer pool by up to 30% due to accessibility and valuation concerns. Obviously, if you go into a townhome and there's stairs going to your main floor, if you have any accessibility issues, if you have grandparents that want to come over, it really restricts people being able to move in and out, as well as if you have a stroller. If there's stairs going right up to your split unit or stairs going right down and not inside, what are you going to do with your stroller with kids? A lot of people buying these townhomes need the space for family. So these are other things that you really need to understand when you're looking at some of these townhomes where they have stairs going directly up or going down. Split level designs often include below grade square footage and total living area, but appraisers don't value this space equally. Buyers effectively pay for square footage the market doesn't fully recognize. So these are some things that you need to be very, very aware of. When we look at the anatomy of a great townhome, these are some of the things that you do want to have on your checklist. Professional management as one, licensed reputable management company ensuring financial stability, legal compliance, and protective maintenance. The rain screen envelope, document and proof of properly installed rain screen systems for post-2000 wood frame construction. Livable dimensions, interior width of 14 to 16 feet, allowing for practical furniture, arrangement, and sense of openness. A healthy reserve fund, a well-funded CRF aligned with depreciation reports, recommendations, minimizing special levy risks. If you're buying an older townhome, you need to get into something that is managed, that has a nice inset in terms of your CRF financing to protect your bank account moving forward. Functional layout, 3 legal bedrooms upstairs, main floor powder room and ample natural light, and above grade living, entire square footage above ground level, ensuring full market valuation by appraisers. As we tie a bow on all this here and go over the checkpoints so it's ingrained in your brain, these are the things that you want to really implement here. Number 1, governance red flags. If the property is self-managed, you need to do your due diligence. If the strata fees are significantly below market, you need to do due diligence. If it's severely underfunded in the reserve fund, as well as a history of frequent special levies, it's likely something you want to run away from. Number 2, building envelope red flags. Obviously, rain screening. Anything built between 1985 and 1998 without rain screen proof. Face sealed stucco on wood frame, complex designs with many projections, and inadequate roof overhangs. These are things that you need to get your home inspector in to ask those things. Without the roof overhangs, you can be a problem with water ingress into the foundation and things of that nature. So you want to make sure that all your overhangs are nice and robust. But again, that's something your inspector should identify. Number 3, layout and design red flags. Below grade main living areas, fewer than 3 legal bedrooms, no main floor bathroom, and interior width less than, it says 16 feet here, but probably less than 12 feet. So as we wrap everything up here, and if you want a copy of my townhouse trap slide deck I use with my clients, just shoot me a text or email and I'll send it over. Alternatively, you can book a call with me directly. Use my QR code in the banner and the link is in the description below. Let's make sure your next townhome is not one that you regret. So this is a list that I have for you. Make sure that you put this into action. And again, if you want that slide deck, please reach out. And until the next one, thank you so much for your time.